like to start with what I know and then work towards what I don't know. I wanted to take the formality of the house and the informality of the woods and kind of make the two combine. I'd like to show you how not to mulch around a tree. It's a step that I see very few landscapers doing. You want to make sure to have variation in your heights. Look at how lovely this is. We just cued the butterfly to come in. Folks, I just wanted to show you where I'm getting my wood chip from. And what you're looking at is the leftovers from when I've been splitting wood. So all the bark and the sawdust I've got that falls off the wood where I cutting wood, I'll just run it through the chipper and make this big pile. And it's taken me over a year to get the pile this size, but I've got a really nice stash of very finely mulched bark with a little bit of sawdust in it, mulch. And it's just awesome. The farther in the pile I get, the more decomposed it is, but it's just really nice stuff. So I can't say this is going to be enough for my whole yard, but what I do is I use this mulch in the high visibility areas or also near the house. Now I know some of you are probably thinking, why didn't I plant the perennials first? And the truth is for a small job like this, sometimes it's easier to just go ahead and throw the mulch down and then plant your plants after. If I was doing a whole foundation planting, absolutely, I would have put the plants in first. But in this case, I can just brush the mulch aside and then go ahead and get the plants in. And when you're mulching, you can just use your manure fork, just like a rake, and just smooth it out. The first few times, it's going to be a struggle, but eventually you're going to get it. And the more tools you need to go to get, the better life is going to be. Get things done quicker, and you won't have to walk all over the place looking for tools. The other thing you're probably noticing is how I've got the wheelbarrow right next to me. When I'm mulching, I usually end up dumping what I think I'm going to need or a little bit less than I think I'm going to need in the garden. And then I keep the wheelbarrow nearby, so if I need a little bit more, I can just grab it. It's very frustrating when you try to mulch a garden and you end up with like 4 inches of mulch. I don't know, it just frustrates me to have to dump it in the garden and then pick it up. It's like doing twice the work. And you know, if you're working an 8-hour day doing this, you really don't want to be doing twice the work. And again, you know, if you guys have seen my other videos, I'm looking for 2 to 3 inches of mulch. To me, this is a first mulching, so I'm closer to 3 than 2. It really amazes me how nice this mulch looks. And all it is ground up bark and sawdust. And it's doing a very nice job. There's not a huge angle on this stone, but I assure you, when the water comes out, it's going to be coming out hot, and it's just going to keep going right through here. And it may eventually wear the lawn down a little bit, but we're going to be fine. That water's just going to keep going. We want to get this water as far away from the house as possible. We want to get these plants in the ground, so all we need to do is put our shovel to mark where the pot is, move the pot, brush the mulch out of the way, take a shovel full of soil. I've got real nice soil here. Before you put the plant in the ground, make sure you pull all the weeds. Always helps. You see all these roots? These roots are going to end up suffocating the plant eventually. So we're just going to take our shovel, we'll whack it in like 3 or 4 places just to break those roots up a bit. Then we'll go ahead and put the plant in the ground. When I put the plant in the ground, I want it to be like 1.5 inches high. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be exact. I want the plant to be a little bit high. The biggest killer of plants is being planted too deeply. Once we got the plant in the ground, we can just go ahead and backfill around it. And if we mix a little bit of this nice mulch in with the soil, well, that's okay. Now I've got some amazing soil here. This used to be a farm. There's like no rocks. So I don't worry about amending the soil when I plant. It's good. If you've got porous soil, maybe take some dehydrated cow manure and go ahead and sprinkle some around the hole, and then just mix it. As you're backfilling, you'll mix it in a little bit. If you've got a compost pile, go get some compost from your compost pile, sprinkle it around the plant. I'd rather you use stuff that's from around here. To go back to when I helped my neighbor plant his fruit trees, they had these cocoa shells that were all packed, and you put them in water and they got hydrated. But what happened was, number one, these cocoa shells, the reason they were using cocoa hulls was because they were very light, very cheap to ship. But they were from Sri Lanka. So we were planting in, Newtown, Connecticut soil with something from Sri Lanka, which just sounds silly. And then the other thing is, by the time you put them in water and got them to expand, it was more work than it had to be, when you could have just gone in the woods and found some good soil and mixed it in with the hole. So, if you have locally available compost, cow manure or something, just go ahead and use that, please. We're just going to use our hands to push the mulch back around the hole, and we want to mulch around the roots, but we don't want to cover the roots with the mulch, because the mice are going to get into this mulch and they're going to just burrow in and start eating our roots. So if we keep the mulch a little bit away, it's better. All right, I just got to bang out these next three. Now that we've got our plants in the ground, I just want to cut them back a bit so they go into winter looking nicer. And in the spring, when the new growth comes, it's going to be bushier. So we'll just grab them and cut them back. Nothing too fancy. On big jobs, I'll bring a blower to clean up the edge of the beds, but on something like this, just grab a rake. Just rake that grass right by the edge that you just trampled over, and you are going to be looking really good in your customer's eyes or your spouse's eyes. On a bigger job, again, I'd use a leaf blower for this. But the glove is going to do perfectly fine to sweep off the stone. I just want to show all the guys in the trade a little trick, and that is, when you buy a grass seed, buy the 25 or the 50-pound bags, whatever you need. And then if you have a little bit left over, just go ahead and put them in a metal bucket like this. And I keep this in my shed. And then whenever you need just a little bit of grass seed to touch up here or there, you've got some right in the bucket. You don't have to run to the hardware store and pay $10 or $15 for what you could have bought for $3 or $4 if you bought a big bag. And the reason I'm keeping this in the metal bucket is because one winter I didn't, and it turns out mice really like grass seed. I've never seen mice as large as I saw in my shed that winter. And then we can just sprinkle a little bit of grass seed in here. And with grass seed, more is always better. I don't know why, but if people don't see a ton of seed, they don't think you did it. There you go. Once the rain comes, that's going to get washed in or it's going to get washed out. Either way, we got some grass seed there. Even though it's early December, don't forget to give your plants a good watering. You want to make sure everything goes into the winter with a good amount of water so it gets through the winter okay. We can clean off the stones too. Good as new. Okay guys, we're gonna wrap this one up because my battery is about to die. And the reason I made this one, folks, is I just filmed like a 7 or 10 part series on maintaining chainsaws. And I don't want to neglect, my people on the channel who enjoy landscaping videos and gardening videos. Gardening is a passion of mine, landscaping is a passion of mine, but I've been doing it so long, sometimes I forget that it's, I take things for granted, for lack of a better term. So if I can do some more videos where maybe I'm not going to be as flashy with the production, but just kind of carry the camera around, if you folks want to watch and see how things go, maybe you learn something, we'll try some videos like that. At my house, I usually end up not being as fancy as I am at other people's houses. I feel like if people are paying me good money, they should get good service. So thanks a lot for watching today, folks, and we'll see you around.